What if I told you that Degrassi actually had a strong, prominent black character? Now, a lot of people recently have said that Degrassi had done their black characters wrong and put them in stereotypical fashions and basically not have good storylines. People who come to mind: Jimmy Brooks, Hazel Arden, Liberty Van Sant, Shantae Black, even Shay and Tiny, and a few other people. Like, they do their minority characters no good. However, Degrassi set a giant mold when one of their major characters in Degrassi Junior High and High was black. Not just black, but a better black character than we all realize. This is the story of the forgotten black supreme character, Lucy Fernandez. So, Lucy Fernandez, played by, and I'm going to butcher the name probably, Ines Granovsky, was born in the Degrassi universe in 1974. She lived in Manhattan but moved to Canada. She appears to be lonely, despite her many friends, as her parents were always busy and on the go. She lived by the phrase, do whatever you want, whenever you want, which got her in trouble. She was actually good friends with LD, or Lorraine, as you say, and also good friends with the Farrell twins, Heather and Erica, Caitlin Ryan, Fola, Joey Jeremiah, Snake, Spike, and Wheels. Lucy was pro choice and proud of it. She was actually first depicted as a stylish, stylish dressed girl with fairly loose parents. Lucy involved in a lot of things. Lucy's parents have never been seen, but her mother Alice's voice was provided by Linda Schleier in several episodes, and Linda Schleier is one of the co-creators of the show, Degrassi. Basically, she has a party house because of her absentee parents. Lola basically, um, yeah, Fola and Lucy end up in a shoplifting thing. Lucy gets in trouble and all that. Lucy actually ends up liking a substitute teacher, Mr. Colby, when Raj is out of commission because of appendicitis. Basically, she had sadness of Fola moving away to a sadness of his wife divorcing him. So basically, Mr. Colby gets on Lucy, stalks Lucy in such a way. LD tries to help her out and all that. Lucy does not report Mr. Colby's behavior, even though she had plenty of chance to. But basically, she starts to have nightmares, and Mr. Colby becomes a substitute again, trying to get on Susie and all that. However, with Miss Avery off for a week, Lucy realizes that Colby is trying to get at Susie. So basically, she tries to warn Susie and all that. Lucy's fear leads her to become phobic of other people touching her and all that. Lucy realizes that they still have to report Mr. Colby and all that. So, yeah. And then basically, in Degrassi High, she basically was around to help Joey Wheels and Snake make this music studio for Everybody Loves Something from the Sits. LD was diagnosed with leukemia. Lucy had a favorite an episode called, I don't think it was called It Creeps, but basically the episode was a Halloween show for Degrassi High, and it was pretty good. I got to watch it when someone said, "Oh, you should watch this." Link, and I said, "Yeah, it looks great." The It Creeps one, the B plot was that Shane was coming back to Degrassi for a little bit because after his accident, and basically he says some stuff that's not characteristic of Shane. But anyway, Lucy is there for her friends, especially in It Creeps, making a great movie and all that. Well, it does end up being wrong in all wrong reasons. Lucy takes anger on it, saying that it wasn't what she was envisioning, and a feminist version of a horror movie that basically the girls were the main characters and the killers and all that. But Mr. Colby, not Mr. Colby, that can't be Mr. Colby. But anyway, she gets an A+ in class, and it was amazing. Even though she said her movie sucked, everyone said everyone's first movies are bad. Unfortunately, well, anyway, Lucy makes a relationship with Bronco, who was the school president. Lucy was going to be Degrassi's school president in her senior year. Unfortunately, because Degrassi High had a lot of issues, especially with the weather control. Like it's a freezer. It's a freezer in the winter, and it's a oven in the summer. In the summer, and all that. And basically, Raj says that we couldn't guarantee everything, but basically, we needed some insight, and they said that they have to close and renovate for a year. But Lucy and Bronco were a pretty good relationship. Both were black, and both were strong people. Lucy was Degrassi's valedictorian, and Lucy was fine and all that. However, Lucy decides to make the mistake of telling Wheels that she needs to get chips for something because her parents allowed her at the lake house for a get together and all that. So basically, they went to get chips, but Wheels is intoxicated, crashes into another vehicle, and kills a child. Lucy becomes temporarily blind and all that. Lucy reappears in Mother and Child Reunion, the series premiere of Degrassi Junior High at Degrassi Next Gen, when she tries to buy a car to help her move to Mexico. All that. Lucy's happy and all that. Lucy's friends do talk to her about the accident with Wheels. Lucy does end up seeing Wheels in a part that stupidly was cut out of the US version of Mother and Child Reunion, but in Canada it was shown first time. That Wheels came out to talk to Lucy and apologizes for his actions for the car accident that temporarily blinded her. Basically, he paid his price to society and said, I just wanted to go to the reunion to tell you how I feel about you, this situation. And I'm going to leave. And then Lucy tells Raditz, who was escorting her, that saying that, you know what? I feel sorry for him. So anyway, Lucy did attend Spike and Snake's wedding in season 2, and that's it. No more Lucy. Pathetic. Lucy was the first character to actually be harassed by an authority figure. The other two were Susie and Claire. So yeah, Claire, I guess by her newspaper editor. Lucy was actually sexually assaulted alongside 15 other characters. She and Susie were sexually harassed by Mr. Colby at Degrassi Junior High. Wheels was nearly molested by a random stranger while he was hitchhiking to find his real dad. Liz was molested by her mother's ex-boyfriend as a girl. Emma was held captive by someone pretending to be a teenage boy who was part of the environment and all that, and was nearly raped. But thanks to Manny, JT, and Toby, she escaped. Paige was raped by Dean in season 2 at a party. Darcy was raped by someone who actually spiked teenage girls' drinks at a party. I don't think it was ever found out who this rapist was. Jane was molested by her father. And thankfully, Lucas found out about Jane's problems and basically found that his father would not come back to his life, especially after coming close to Isabella. So yeah, so that forced Lucas to change his ways. But then he's off the show. It's like, damn. Paige being raped by Dean. Basically, she doesn't get her results in season 4. Her case was cut. Casey almost had a sex with a hooker hired by Coach Carson. Well, that Connor was almost molested in a car by his internet stalker, Sexy Queen or whatever her name was. Bianca was forced into sex with Vince and almost raped by Anson, mostly because Drew's problems. Claire was sexually harassed by Asher. Maya was sexually harassed after being cyberbullied and slut shamed online thanks to Zoe, and basically Zoe got away with it. Zoe was raped by Luke and Neil at a party. Neil? Oh, that's the other guy that Luke Baker was with. Neil. Okay. Tristan was raped by Mr. Yates, and Winston was groped by Mr. Yates. Lucy was the first valedictorian in the Degrassi thing. She actually came from Manhattan, moved to Canada. Lucy and Yick were the first international students to attend Degrassi. She's one of several students who were born outside of Toronto. Well, outside of Canada. She's from New York. Yick is from Vietnam. Patrick was from Dublin. Patrick was actually in Degrassi High as a love interest for Spike before Snake kind of came in the picture. Manny was born in the Philippines. Hazel was born in Somalia. Fiona and Declan were born in Japan to American expatriates. Becky and Luke are from Florida, and Syed and Rasha are from Syria. There were two Lucys in the franchise. I don't remember the other Lucy. I guess she, a dancer at her studio and all that, at Jack Jones's studio. Okay, she called her mother Alice by her first name. Her mother's voiced by Degrassi co-creator Linda Schuyler. She was pro-choice. She mentioned she wanted to be a dancer. She wanted to be a filmmaker, and by time it creeps. Oh, who is the teacher? Wallfish. That's it. Mr. Wallfish was the guy. And mother and child, she has a PhD in anthropology. Her first relationship was with Paul, but Paul tried to force Lucy to have sex. He had sex with Clutch, but Clutch was belligerent and all that. Bronca and Lucy had a good relationship and all that. It didn't really end, I don't think. They said they broke up after school's out. It doesn't unexplained. I mean, you gotta think about that, all that. So yeah, so a lot of things have happened to Lucy. However, one of the biggest moments in the Degrassi thing was the practical fact that someone did a Degrassi Reddit post on it and said that, can we take a second to appreciate how ahead of the time Lucy's character was? A black pro-choice feminist who knew her worth, always stood up for what's right, and was a great friend. One of the best written characters in the show's history, in my opinion. A lot of people liked her. She was authentic and had a fragile side. And all that. Very progressive and all that. A lot of people liked that. All that. Now, Lucy was, well, someone said that her views on suicide was terrible. And that was when Claude killed himself. And Lucy said maybe it was selfish to make us all feel bad for him and all that. Now, that is understandable. Some people would say that. I mean, people do say that because maybe they thought that Claude was just trying to hurt people by committing suicide and make them feel bad. In truth, that's possible what it was because I know he was going after Caitlin in a sense because Caitlin wouldn't give Claude the time of day. But Claude was in the wrong because he abandoned Caitlin during that animal protest and basically Caitlin never forgave him for it. That. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, anyway, yeah. A lot of people said that basically Lucy is great and all that. It was weird. I know people said that, black characters just didn't have it. Hazel, Shantae, Marisol has been regressed and all that. Shay, Vince, Danny, Towers even. Oh yeah, I remember that. It was amazing. And a lot of people said she had great character development. I totally agree. Like, Lucy was supposed to be the benchmark for these type of characters in the Degrassi universe, but yet they screwed up. Liberty, I think, is the closest. But I mean, honestly, I mean, they dropped the ball after Lucy Fernandez. Lucy deserved better, and we all should be appreciative of her. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching.